No more ideas from the month ahead.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is 5:06 p.m., calling the meeting to order. Clerk Perla, will you please confirm the presence of a quorum?
Yes, thank you. Mayor Shepro?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Giuliano?
Here.
Thank you. Trustee Laux is absent. Trustee Hill?
Here.
Thank you. Trustee Ugrinsky?
Present.
Thank you. Mayor, we have a quorum. Attorney Moran and Treasurer Gaffgar are with us as well.
Okay, great. All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, up first on our agenda is we have Fleming Vitabeck here from the Citizens Commission on Erosion, and Robert Larrabee, who's also on the Citizens Commission on Erosion. And we've asked them to walk through the interim report from the Commission on Erosion, and so the trustees could ask questions, and we can kind of like just work on this in real time. So ultimately, the goal is to post this report to the website of the Commission on Erosion. So come on up, gentlemen, and we'll pull a couple of chairs up for you, too.
So I have not made a formal presentation, as I told you when we had our meeting last week, but I would like just to give a brief introduction. I kind of assume that you have had the report in your hand for. So I have a one-page thing I will go through, and then we are willing to answer questions and discussions, and you can point to different things in the report. So on behalf, I will give a very brief overview of the interim report. The overview of the Commission's works and findings was presented at the March 27 Phase 2 Community Informal Meeting, if you remember, by David North, who presented it, and there was discussions, general forum and discussion at that point.
Just get as close as you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, oh, that's much better. Thank you.
So therefore,
Yeah, can we turn this down? It seems very sensitive to.
So therefore, I will not go into all the details of the report. It is fairly easily structured. It has an introduction. It discusses the set of general options, 3 different options for each of the items it discusses, and that is based on kind of my experience as project manager. That if you have a project, then you take a broad view of it, where you look at risk analysis, you discuss pros and cons, and you look at alternate plans. And even you may have a preferred plan, but at least you deserve to spend time on looking at it yourself, or look at other options. So since then, the committee has continued investigation of work. We submitted the interim report to the trustees at May 1. And we hope the report will be, as you just mentioned, Mayor, will be made public after this meeting. So the committee has met once or twice per month with, in general, Trustee Giuliano has always been there, except I think for one time where you were excused. And Mayor Shepard has also been there many times, and Sukrinski, you have also been there once. So I think it has been a good exchange, but I should say that all the items in the report has had input from, I would say, from most of the of the committee, and we have had, and different members of the committee has looked into different possibilities, collected materials from other sources, how to deal with bluffs, what one should watch for. We have looked at the history of the bluff in some detail, and so I think it has been very fruitful. So I should say that since the report is basically at this point more than a month and a half old, there has actually happened, a fair amount of things has happened since then. So there are points in it that is actually a bit moot, because, for instance, we have seen the design work by GEI has been started, this is something that we intend to study in some greater details, because we're actually learning quite a bit from going through that May the 2024 survey report, and it has a whole set of recommendations what should be done to do the maintenance work, which we find very useful. I think there are things in the design that we kind of came across here that was a little surprising, but we want to understand this in some greater detail. So the main focus was to provide an analysis of the phase 2 project and looking at the alternatives. And as I said, this involved evaluation and pros and cons and risk analysis. And the alternatives, in short, they are basically one was a relocation plan, and the other one was looking with a partial wall to protect the western part of the building, which is clearly the most exposed, because the lower toe really looks quite good. I mean, and also in the maintenance report, it says this is in good shape, and there may be few things that has to be fixed, but in general, it's in good shape. So that's why the idea of considering a reduction in the. So
You can hold it. You can hold it in the air.
No, that's probably that is uncomfortable. Sorry, I lost my thought here.
You were going through the pros and cons on the options, and
Oh yeah, I was discussing on the wall that this could be a potential cost saving if one wouldn't have to build the wall, and it probably fulfills the FEMA requirement that it has a wall, which seems this is probably a condition for getting the funding from FEMA. So let me just read the conclusion and it's in the report. So it's the opinion that the committee has detailed plans. No, it's the opinion of the Commission that detailed plans for the entire project, including phase 1 repair, drainage, and phase 2 wall construction, will be complete, so an estimate of final cost can be obtained. This is one of the risks we see at this point, that we don't have a good estimate of what the cost is. We have estimates which is 2-3 years old, and certainly prices has gone up. There are tariffs on steel, which I'm sure will increase. Someone has to be careful with. And I know it's the aim to keep the cost of the project under the 4.8. But I think it requires a lot of good thought. This was an injection. This was not in the summary. Then a fiscal analysis of the total projected cost over the projected lifetime for each option should be conducted or presented to the village residents and taxpayers before proceeding with construction. A detailed fiscal analysis of all options will help inform appropriate, responsible decision-making at this time. Finally, it must be emphasized that at some point in the future, reconfiguration or relocation of the clubhouse will be necessary. We can all hope this would be a long time, but with increased rise of the oceans and more often storms. It is not clear what this would be.
How much time we really have.
How much really time?
Yeah.
Well, is it 10, 25 years? And that should be a consideration. So that's what I have to say for introductory part, and then we can discuss as we go along.
Okay, so just some observations on page 7. There's considerations for all options, which I can kind of respond to some of these things. As I go through them, perform an engineering study of the structural integrity of the existing building as recommended by GEI. We're waiting on a value proposition for that estimate. And so we're looking into that. Complete the planning and cost estimate for a comprehensive drainage system that will direct water away from the bluff and westerly properties that are being adversely impacted by uncontrolled runoff and watershed. So that we are doing, that is part of GEI's scope of assignment right now, and they're working on that. Remove the hard surface from the old tennis courts, add drainage and plantings, and as you know, that is something that GEI has proposed. I mean, actually Lessings is proposing to do. Bob, you had asked about, would it be safe? You know, is it right to take the hard true?
I think we had that conversation.
Can you speak into the?
We had that conversation about the, not only the material that the court is made up of, but also the sequence of events, the sequence of activities which GEI laid out. Given that I realize it's primarily for them a beautification project.
Yeah.
But for us, it's more than that. It's integral. It's in the same location where the some drainage activity might occur, where the wall construction might occur. So we're going into that sequence. That's probably going to be our big discussion at the next meeting. I think July 10th we're meeting again. So there's a lot of commentary we'll probably have on that sequence. That being one of them, what I call the Lessings beautification project. The previous consultant, I don't want to get into the weeds on this, but the previous consultant used a runoff coefficient of 1 for the tennis courts, which essentially means it's like asphalt. It just zooms off. However, when I looked at the hard true technical work, it's a much different material. So that's going to probably be like one of our questions.
So, based on our conversation at the meeting last week, was that last week?
Yes.
Seems like a long time ago.
Feels like it's a long time ago.
We did ask Lessings to put together some drawings, and we also asked Hayduck to look into more deeply the runoff coefficient of the Hartrue. So they put some drawings together. The trustees have them, and we'll share this. But I don't want to share it with you officially today. I want you to take a look at it because it's pretty, and it's fun to look at. But we also asked Hayduck for the consulting about the surface and what would happen. So they're putting together sort of an evaluation of that. I'd like to provide it to the Commission on Erosion together at the same time. So you're not looking at one without understanding what the other one is. So Fleming, if you want to see this, these are the.
Yeah, and I understand that.
And they even responded to the concept about the fence, right?
Oh, I think Al had brought that up.
Yes, Al. He recommended the type of fence, and it's really kind of appealing. And these are the two locations. So, and it does show you the line of the fence and where the intent is to place it. So that's where we are so far. We're just waiting to send it to the commission for that one final piece from our engineer.
No, it's also clear. It's clear, as you said at the meeting the last week, that this this is an interim project.
Correct.
Before we would go to the real installation of
Correct.
drainage, etc. for
Yeah.
that.
And it's, whatever it is, it's cosmetic and it's not infrastructural, so the cost would be not as significant to do more, to do a permanent thing, obviously. So it's plantings, and it's an investment that I think they're willing to make, but to your point, they need to be aware that we are looking at drainage mitigation, but that's going to be, I think they want to get this for this season, right?
Yeah.
Do they have a program and vision for the site? I mean, these two grass areas, or just visual?
What do you mean?
I mean, would they have an event out there, or is it just?
Oh, we haven't gotten
it's just
that,
a
we have
visual?
not gotten that far yet.
Bob, you need to use the mic.
Pardon me?
You need to
Oh.
use the mic.
The question was, do they have a program and vision for these two lawn areas, or is it just a visual improvement to them?
We have not discussed that.
Okay.
Mhm. That's a different discussion.
Mhm.
There will be additional expenses for architectural plans and engineering. I'm not sure what that means. There may not be FEMA funding for this option. Oh, wait, I'm on a thing, hold on. Considerations, hold on. Okay, remove the hard surface, so that is a recommendation of the commission, right? Remove the hard surface from old tennis courts, add drainage and plantings.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that was before I looked up hard true. For what it's worth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I
we're
mean,
asking our,
yeah. I mean, as I look at it again, I'm thinking at the edge of the bluff and back quite a ways, it would seem you would want an impervious surface, and then have your recharge way back, way to the south. But this is going to be a function of the drainage study they're going to come up with, so.
correct.
So that was my concern about fluffing up right near the bluff, even though they're not exactly on the bluff.
You've been over there recently?
No.
You have to take a look. The season has changed the texture of the crust, like not texture, but what you see at the crest.
Mhm.
And the seasons have also changed what the bluff face looks like now.
Mhm.
I don't know if anybody's been down there. Have you been down, did you say you've been down there? There's yellow coreopsis all over the bluff face now. It's beautiful. And I think that the hydroseed that the golf course superintendent projected out there has taken pretty nicely.
Yeah.
It's filled in pretty nicely. Not saying that's, I don't know what the stabilization impact is of that, but it's worth a look. Move ahead with GEI recommended repairs to the work done on Phase 1. So there's a sequence in the second that sort of recommends sequencing it along with the sequencing of Phase 2. I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at the second annual monitoring study. It was posted to the website. Just suggests that the trustees take a look at that. Perform an engineering study of the estimated lifetime for each option and compare with fiscal impacts. I think our engineers quoted it, lifetime estimates at the March 27th meeting, right?
Yes.
With and without maintenance. There was like a 15 or 20-year difference or something like that, if I remember correctly. Is that, so when with these recommendations, do we check these off as done kind of thing? Addressed, or do we answer them, and then do you want to provide feedback into that before we put it up on the website?
It might be a good thing just to note with a sub-note that
Date,
with the
note.
ones which have been addressed actually.
Okay.
That's also what I meant with the fact that things has changed since
Yes,
this was
yep.
written.
Yeah, I heard you say that, yeah.
So we can go through and within a few days, probably by tomorrow, I can go through,
Okay.
go through these things and send it back to you.
Okay.
If you look at GAO reports, they usually will do like big deep dives into whatever the agency or office is doing and then have recommendations, but it'll report which ones have already been accepted. And you just might want to look at for styling of how to like do that is what I suggest.
I have been in 10, 15 different DOE reviews.
Start planning to relocate, replace the building away from the bluff edge, as this will be needed at some point in the future. So, ensure the oversight recommendations for regular site inspections and establish that the repairs needed are performed in a timely fashion. That is happening through our
Right.
Department of Public Works and Parks Departments. So go back to the other one. I read this one before I read them out of order. Start planning to relocate, replace the building away from the bluff edge, as this will be needed at some point in the future. That we haven't started doing yet. No update there that I know of. Make the options public and ensure that there is public input to the process before funds are committed. No new bonds should be approved without voter approval. Fair enough, I agree. No new bonds should be approved without voter approval. Annual expenses for monitoring, maintenance, and reporting must be factored into the village budgeting process, and it has been. We have an annual, we've considered that, rolled it over, and we will continue to roll it over into future budgeting. So, good recommendations. And then your conclusion. Does any other trustees want to talk through any of those things? Okay. So right now, we are in the middle of awaiting GEI's final design recommendations for proposal for the Phase 2. We expect to have them, I think, third week of June, right?
Possibly the 19th.
Yeah. So that's our next step. Those designs will be, will include the references, right, Bob, to drainage issues and utilities, everything that wasn't considered in the first two phases, original first two-phase design. So again, every time I speak with you, I thank the commission for looking into these processes critically and helping us work through them and bringing feedback from our residents and adding that feedback into our process gives us an opportunity to ask questions that you're asking and then think about our own as well. And our engineering firm, Hayduck, is really helping us work through some of these price points and things like that as well. So I think the process is working. We're not jumping to any conclusions. We're not jumping to any decisions. We are methodically taking a look at it and making sure that what we do is deeply considered. Not in a rush. We want to do it right.
Thank you for all your hard work on this, and the report is really great, and I highly encourage residents to read it. It is very informative, but only 8 very digestible pages, so it is really folks should read it, and you'll learn a lot about the bluff too. Just very curious, when are we going to get started on looking at strategic retreat plan on the building? Because I agree that's a very important recommendation.
I have a date uncertain.
Okay.
Yeah, let me just one comment. I think this is something that should just play into this whole general planning also of the north area of the country club right there. That everything is looked upon in entity.
So we have It's like feedback, yeah, yeah. We have a couple of things that we've been discussing. And one is a master plan for the entire campus. And so I say data uncertain, but we're not considering what to do with the north side of Fairway Drive. So if we bring a master planner in, we have a walkthrough on Monday. It's Monday, June 16th, with a professional master planning consultant who does country clubs. So it's Trustee Laux and I as the liaison to the country club who are going to be walking through that and going through that process with the master planner to really get a better understanding of what master planning country clubs is all about, number one. And number two, to be able to come back to this board and talk through that and then determine whether or not it's something that we should move forward with as a RFP, to go to RFP for master plan for the north side of Fairway Drive. And it's a big decision, not to be taken lightly or quickly, but first step is to really understand what country club master planning looks like. They'll speak with Lessings. They'll speak with country club personnel, and they'll just put together it's called First Impressions, and it's a no-cost consulting process that helps us understand how best to kind of move forward internally with our board and with our volunteer groups, the CCMAC and the Board of Governors, to see where we go next. And really, this is what I'm thinking about, and I'll say it out loud. And I'd love feedback from this board to see if that you think this is a good way to go. Is to start, and we started a North Campus Steering Committee, but really look at this like a comprehensive master planning process, or like we did for Harborfront Park way back in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Is there was a 60-member commission sitting together to get that park where it is right now at Harborfront. So, it's something that we consider, and I've gotten a lot of interest from residents. I'd really love to have input on what is going on at the country club. So I don't know what you all think about that, but that's kind of what I'm sort of leaning into.
I think it's a great idea to get everybody's input and get the general public's, what they think, how they see the future of the club. So I think it's a great idea just to get different ideas. Can't go wrong with something like that.
Yeah, I don't know why we would take it's a significant parcel of land, and it's complicated, right? We've got plans for tennis and pickleball, and if we have to do a long-term retreat of the building, then we need to start planning for that now and start looking at what might this complex look like 10 years from now. So I think it's a really important thing to do.
Or even 20 or 25 years from now. So,
Well,
yeah.
50 would be best,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like a great idea, and I think there's a lot of opportunity in that. There's always going to be criticism that the asset doesn't serve the whole village, or there's some people that don't feel it serves them. So it could be an opportunity to, shoot for the moon and see what it really looks like. What would it take to get a pool up there or a mini golf course or something like that that's, more accessible and get more of the residents to go up and use that treasure.
All right. Fleming, Bob, anything else?
I just had a question. You mentioned GEI is putting together the plans the third week of June. Are they sort of pre-reviewed by HADAC, or are they going to have a review time frame similar to what hopefully we might have?
Well,
The commission.
Yeah, so HADUC and GEI and the village meet every other week So
So
we
the-
will be able to have that conversation. We'll look at it all at this, in one of those meetings.
So they're sort of working concurrently, you know. Yeah, in other words, is GEI going to plop a set of plans in front of Hayduck and say, hey, what do you think of this? Or are they working concurrently on the, I mean, not on the plan development, but the issues of development of the plan?
I think the process is, and I don't know if this, I hope this answers your question, that GEI will have the project plans in place.
Mhm.
They'll have the topo and all the supporting documentation, and we'll review it as a project group,
Okay,
right?
all right.
And then, once we're happy with where it is, I don't think we would show it to the Commission on Erosion until we're happy with it, right? And not 6 weeks down the road, probably hash out the details in
Yeah.
one seating, I would suspect.
Yeah. The sequence of activities in the monitoring report sort of allows us to peek through the keyhole a little bit, and I'm wondering if the commentary we're developing on that would be valuable as early as possible, even though it may in fact be off base. Because they did lay out a sequence of work, and we're starting to develop questions on the sequence as well as some of the details of that work. So whether that would be, getting that input as early in the process would be of value. Obviously, they can respond to it, comment noted, and that's it. Or they can see if it's of value and dig into it a little more.
I hear you. It's hypothetical right now,
Right,
so yes, hypothetically, yes.
okay.
Okay?
So my thinking is that's going to be our focus for the next few weeks, is putting together some commentary on those,
On-
that sequence of activities.
Which sequence are you referring to?
It's in 5.3 of the monitoring report.
Okay, gotcha.
It's like 11 unnumbered bullets or something.
Okay, yep, I
Yeah.
know exactly what you're talking about.
Because that seemed to be the heart of the
Your
plan going
feedback-
forward.
Your feedback on that is greatly appreciated.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay.
I just have one more thing. So, you know, I know that we addressed the whole flow of information, right? I think, like, I don't believe you guys are required to foil anymore. Trustee Giuliano is going to be the liaison. But I think the more important point that I would like to make is, as an outsider looking into this process, right? I'm not sitting on the board, and I'm not the liaison to the board. But it seems to me that there's a discrepancy between the timelines that you guys were working against and your expectations of how that aligned with the process that the engineers were going through. And I just want to highlight that, like, there are things that are just not done yet, and so there were things, and I had this conversation with David, so I'm just bringing it up. You know, it feels as if these sorts of conversations where we're talking about when the engineers will have things will do a lot to help you guys know when do we need to meet, and is there additional information that we can even opine on, right?
Oh, yeah, I understand.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
All I know is if you give Robert Larrabee something, he'll have 15 questions, which are usually pretty good.
The right ones.
All right,
All right, okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll get your updated version tomorrow, and we'll plug it in onto the website as soon as we get it. Uh-oh, Fleming. Thank you so much. Okay, what do we have next, Clerk Perillo?
Mayor. Next, we'll be entering into executive session at 5:41 PM to discuss a contract negotiation and the specific performance of a particular employee. If I may have a motion.
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, do we want to start with reports, or do we want to, Sylvia, do you want to start your report first?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
My report is brief. I really only have one item. That is the announcement of the upcoming election on Tuesday, the 17th. Bless you. Bless you. Polls will be open at the Village Center from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. With that, we had 4 additional resolutions as well coming out of executive session. I have, on my report, there are 13, so we will have a total of 17. So, with your permission, Mayor, I'd like to start with resolution number 1. Thank you. Resolution number 1, 61125, resolution approving a waiver of the $400 fee for the fireworks permit submitted by Lori D. Colicchio on behalf of Fireworks by Grucci Incorporated for the annual fireworks display. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 2, 61125, resolution approving the event permit application submitted by Stephen Furio on behalf of the Port Jefferson Fire Department for the use of specified village streets and village traffic control personnel for the annual Independence Day Parade to be held on July 4th, 2025, and approving a waiver of the requisite permit fee. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 3, 61125, resolution approving the hiring of Parker Moore as a full-time planning aide for the Village of Port Jefferson and an annual salary of $40,500 per year, effective June 12th, 2025, with all rights and benefits per the collective bargaining agreement currently in force between the Village of Port Jefferson and CSEA Local 1000. This hire is subject to the standard 26-week civil service probationary period. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 4, 61125, resolution establishing a total annual salary of $122,205 for fiscal year 2025-2026 for PJCC golf professional Jake Anderson, effective June 5th, 2025. If I may, this resolution and the following 2 are now going to be explained by Treasurer Gafka.
Thank you, Clerk Perillo. These 3 resolutions, we did this last year. The total annual salary is their base salary along with lesson revenue. And we look at it each year to see what was brought in, and these are the new adjustments that needed to be made for the upcoming year.
And that's
So
for all 3 of them?
Yes.
And sometimes it goes up and sometimes it goes down, depending on what's happened the prior year.
The
right?
lesson revenue piece, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 5, 61125, resolution establishing a total annual salary of $94,072 for fiscal year 2025-2026 for PJCC Assistant Golf Professional Larry Scorticini, effective June 5th, 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 6, 61125, resolution establishing a total annual salary of $74,499 for fiscal year 2025-2026 for recreation tennis professional Alex Dank, effective June 5th, 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 7, 61125, resolution ratifying the hiring of Anthony Strickland as a part-time seasonal outside staff employee at the Port Jefferson Country Club at an hourly wage rate of $18 per hour effective June 9th, 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 8, 61125, resolution hiring Daniel Kubek as an intern in the Treasury Department at an hourly wage rate of $16.50 per hour effective June 12th, 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
He's not related to Kevin Kubik,
No.
is he? Okay.
Resolution number 9, 61125, resolution authorizing the payment of invoices totaling $26,220.28 to Campani and Schwarting Architects for work performed as part of the Climate Resiliency Plan grant. The payment is time-sensitive, owing to the grant deadline of May 30th, 2025, after which a 30-day reimbursement submission deadline applies.
Do we have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to say they are such a gem of the village, and we're so lucky that we have their
Absolutely.
any opportunity to do that, which is this resolution, should be taken. So, and if you haven't seen their presentations, like really, everyone should go watch them because it is fascinating what could be in the village.
And I'll tell you one other, I'll add to what you're saying, I agree. The engineering firm, McLean Associates, are actually utilizing a lot of material that they presented and compiled from that resiliency plan project. So, good all around. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Maybe we did that already. Okay.
That's fine. Resolution number 10-61125, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform budget amendment number 92, increasing anticipated revenues for line item A, 4089, federal aid other, and increasing appropriations for line item A, 8140.46, storm sewer repair and maintenance by $85,798.17 to fund storm drain cleaning in conjunction with the FEMA DR 4839 grant project. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Oh.
Second. Third.
Discussion, just a quick note on this. This is for the storm drain cleaning project that we were approved to do for up to 50 drains, correct?
Yes.
And also, we've got 35 identified already. We're waiting for DPW to share those drains, and they are going to prioritize based on the level of urgency.
This is great. I'm so excited about this. Is there any way to measure its impact on runoff? I imagine it would be really hard, but not impossible, but probably beyond what like anyone here could do, because it would be really good to know, and then that would be able to justify the cost if we did not have a grant in the future.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was like anyone, like a researcher at Stony Brook, that would be willing or interested. I don't know.
Or maybe.
Or know how,
Like
yeah.
McLean's
Yeah.
working on that flood reduction study and planning. Maybe that's something that they would take into consideration. They did that whole drone, they took all that drone footage last week, and they're building the model, but it's all for the commercial district. It's really not up in the steep streets. That's the only thing. But
that's the water that ends up
That comes down.
yeah, true, yeah. I mean, I'll talk to them about it, see if they can, if there's something data point related that we can use observationally or any which way. Okay.
I'd just be, I mean, I like that as just a matter of course for anything that
Yeah.
we're doing,
Right.
right? If there's an opportunity to measure the impact of that, and we can identify some key metrics that, to put in place, that will help us the next time in terms of justifying either a grant or spend, then, yeah, this is good process.
Okay. Did we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution number 11-61125, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform budget amendment number 93, increasing anticipated revenues for line item H5710 serial bonds and increasing appropriations for line item H7110.220.1 Parkland Repair FEMA DR 4839 August 18 to 19 storm by $322,000 to set the budget for the Sands Lane culvert repair and mitigation. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 12-61125, resolution authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform budget transfer number 28, decreasing appropriations for line item H 7110.220.1 Parkland Repair FEMA DR 4839 August 18 to 19 storm by $148,500 and increasing appropriations for line item H 8997.601 Parkland Projects by $148,500 as a transfer back to the Parkland Funds account. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Got it. Second.
Stephen, can you explain why we're doing this, please?
Yes, so we have the resolutions for the bonding for the culvert repair were approved. We're getting to the point where the notice of estoppel will expire by the end of the month. We can borrow the funds.
Culvert repair.
for Sands Lane.
Okay.
In relation to the August 18th, 19th storm. So prior to that, while we were getting ready, so we had funds available to start the project, we had moved parkland funds over just to be able to get the project started, make sure we had funds available. Since these other funds are coming, as I discussed then, I would move the parkland funds back to where they were and replenish the account, and that's what this is all doing. So we're setting the budget. And then the last piece will be, once we get approval of the grant itself for the culvert, we'll adjust that account to encompass the grant funds that we expect to receive and lower the amount that we'll bond.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 13, 61125, resolution approving the attached proposal of services from Sound Actuarial Consultants to prepare the GASB, G-A-S-B, 75 annual update as required for the fiscal 2025 audit, and authorizing Mayor Shepro or the mayor's designee to sign the proposal on behalf of the Village of Port Jefferson. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 14, 61125 is a resolution appointing Kevin Cooper as a temporary building inspector for the Village of Port Jefferson effective June 12th, 2025. May I have a motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 15, 61125, resolution ratifying the hiring of Peter Murphy as a part-time seasonal laborer at the Port Jefferson Country Club at an hourly wage rate of $18 per hour effective June 9th, 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 16, 61125, resolution approving the attached proposals submitted by DF Stone Contracting Limited for emergency work required to stabilize the Sands Lane culvert at the Old Homestead Recharge Basin per FEMA project numbers 4839 DRNY and 4615 DRNY, and authorizing Mayor Shepro to sign the notice to proceed to DF Stone Contracting Limited on behalf of the Village of Port Jefferson. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Finally, we have resolution number 17, 61125, resolution approving the hiring of Jennifer Hildreth of Social Butterfly to assist the clerk's office with the retention, management, and destruction of records village-wide as prescribed in the New York State Records Retention and Disposition Schedule for New York local government records, known as LGS-01, at an hourly rate of $30 per hour, not to exceed 20 hours per month. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You want to discuss it a little bit, just to
Yeah,
talk
just
about
so
what
that
this
I think
means?
what we
Yeah.
talked about, so everyone understands,
Yeah.
is helpful.
Yeah. So Sylvia, do you want to explain what this assignment is related to, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As everyone sees, we have reorganized in Village Hall. We have moved the treasurer's team into the former code office, which is now over at 88 North Country Road. The building and planning department will be moving into what was the treasurer's office. With that comes a wealth of documents, boxes, information that are here and that may not necessarily need to be here. It's not comfortable for our staff, it's not efficient for our staff to have everything here that is not required. And it is a function of the clerk's office to manage the records. We do not have the staff in the clerk's office, and we have someone in Jennifer Hildreth who has undertaken such projects of efficiency prior for other entities. So with that in mind, this is tied into a grant that we have applied for through Lisa Motto, through LGRMIF, New York State, and it's a tie-in because of the mechanism of it, but it's a little bit different because that grant is for scanning and also retention and destruction, but this is the first step of that. So it is quite an important undertaking for the clerk's office.
Madam Clerk,
Yes.
is it safe to say that there are specific procedures required by LGS 01, and this gets us into compliance? It's
In-
also, as a move, like anytime you move your house, you clean house.
Mhm.
So you
Yes.
get rid of unnecessary things. So it just feels Like, it'll improve the working conditions for everybody. They'll know where things are, and
Yes.
Documents have been building up. I mean, you can talk to the Stephen, you work in that office, you see it, there are 19 file cabinets in there. How many file cabinets do you need?
We don't know
Um,
yet.
We don't know yet,
We
but
don't know yet.
but I have a good estimate of around 9 to 10.
I think that's way too many.
There's about 20 in the office right now, so.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's clutter. It's just clutter.
Mhm.
Downstairs, upstairs, inside out, clutter.
Yep.
So, but there is a law requiring us to retain records in a way that is in compliance with, what's it called, records?
The New York
retention?
State Records Retention Schedule,
Mhm.
called LGS 01, last updated in 2022, which we have adopted, really pertains, it is very specific. It is per document title. So it is literally hundreds of pages, which is why we need someone who has expertise in having dealt with this kind of purge before.
And if we don't need these 30 years of payroll records here, we can move them somewhere else.
Mhm.
So maybe we don't need those 10 file cabinets, but if there are 20 file cabinets, there are 300 binders
Yes.
Yeah.
that are just on shelves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm exaggerating. of course,
Not
but-
Not a lot.
Not by much.
It's close.
So it's just, let's organize and get efficient and operating clean.
Thank you.
Okay.
We of the clerk's office appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Board.
All in favor?
Aye.
We might have done that already.
aye.
Mayor, that concludes my report unless there are questions.
Alrighty. Let's start with Trustee Hill.
So code enforcement report, training of new hires took place throughout May. From our last work session, I think 11 was the number of new hires that they had, which I said was a steep undertaking. So it's exciting that folks are getting their training done. Still waiting on new uniforms. Met with the owners of several establishments about submitting their overdue outdoor dining permits. We've had conversations about updating the code to reflect dogs not being prohibited from the Rocket Ship Park and Texaco. We also had started conversations about expanding our noise prohibitions to match, or so federal holidays match the weekends, and that might be something we may be interested in or want to consider. And that stemmed from a call from a resident about, I'm sure it was landscaping, but it was on one of the federal holidays recently.
Is that something that we should do by resolution?
I think,
Extending noise ordinance to, for weekends
No,
to?
you'd have, if the ordinances exist in the village code, you'd have to amend the code
Mhm.
Right.
to include it. So it'd be, you have to set a public hearing and then the code.
Okay, so there we go. Let's look at doing that. That's a no-brainer, right?
Yes,
Public hearing, the same day as,
right.
unless somebody really wants to hear that noise on Memorial Day. Okay,
they met with and exchanged contact information with the Suffolk PD whiskey teams. So they started, I think, a few days before Memorial Day weekend. They are given code, I think Mr. Cooper mentioned this at our public meeting, but I'll repeat it here. They have, they're able to talk to each other on their radios because we've shared radios with Code and Suffolk PD, which is also great. There were 21 calls for service via the Code phone, and then 3 online complaints. And then a good reminder, you can also text the Code number. So a lot of folks may or may not realize that. 4 new cases initiated for alleged code violations in the village, and there were 2 field appearance tickets issued for open alcohol. 'Tis the season. 885 parking tickets issued through the month of May, and 454 issued May 2024. So that's a significant increase, almost double. And then, bear with me, just some of the things that came out of the Public Safety Advisory Committee. We're doing a demo with an alert company, a live demo with our code enforcement folks, and then whoever from the Public Safety Advisory Committee wants to join. We got some questions there. It's Everbridge, yep. And then we've mentioned it before, but there were conversations about the light timer or sensor being off at Liberty and Maine. I actually reached out to Assemblywoman Rebecca Cassay's office. Her staff was extremely helpful. They reached out to New York State Department of Transportation, so shout out to M. Murphy. I appreciate your help. And they looked at the light and they did say that there was something wrong with it. They reset the sensor and that they're actually going to update the sensor so it's a physical car sensor. I don't understand the technology beyond what I just said, but the sensor will start working again and people will like that. We also, the council also recommended moving the speed reader that's currently at Jefferson Landing to East Main. There's been a number of complaints we've actually gotten complaints of speeding really throughout the village, and I wish we had more speed readers, and we might want to think about investing in that or looking for funding opportunities for that. But some of the businesses were especially concerned, especially out there's like summer activities at the library, and they suggested putting the speed reader between Thompson and Broadway, going north. So if there aren't any concerns or objections here, I'm happy to, I'm okay with that suggestion because we can collect the data and see what the speeds are, and that was part of their decision making, is to move the Jefferson Landing one because the average speed was below the speed limit.
So I would just communicate that with Lisa
Okay.
and just get her buy-in on it and let her know that we're talking about doing that, and if there's any concerns, let us know, but I think, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Is there the speed reader that is stationary, not the movable one, as you're coming down the hill on East Broadway? It looks like it's only intermittently reading. I don't know, is that a vegetation problem maybe that's
I
blocking?
think it's a vegetation problem. I'll talk to DPW and have them.
Okay, yeah,
Because,
I just noticed it's
yeah,
not.
sometimes
it's
it
not
works,
working.
sometimes it
Yeah.
doesn't work. Yeah.
Which one, on East Broadway?
Yeah, the one
coming
coming
down
down
the
the hill on the right-hand
Okay.
side. I think that's an easy fix.
Is that it?
And that's it for me.
So if you want to just update we got some feedback on the magnet, right? The who to
Yes.
call.
You just want me to share about the...
Sure.
So we're putting together a magnet so folks can have, it basically explains, who to call for what situation. So it's Suffolk PD, code enforcement, or someone else. We're also adding to that the direct line to the fire department, so the Portia Fire Department hotline. And I did not know that it was available. Let me just pull up the number quickly. But really the most interesting thing about it is that can actually reduce the response time by 3 to 4 minutes, which is such a significant amount of time, especially, really for any emergency, but for a structure fire, it'd be really meaningful. But so the number is 631-473-3232. Really interesting and great that we have that as a resource.
Thank you.
So thank you, Port Jeff Fire Department.
Yeah, and so Fran's updating the design of that piece, and we should have that going to a cost estimate soon, right? Okay. All right, thank you, Kyle. Bob?
All right, starting with DPW, they've been clearing basins of leaves and debris. Well, they cleared basins of leaves and debris before the expected rain that we had in the beginning of May. They prepped and cleaned up for the Northville Walk. Thanks to town of Brookhaven, they borrowed 200 traffic cones from the town of Brookhaven for the walk. They VACCON to date, the DPW crew has removed over 300 cubic yards of waste and debris from sand from various drains throughout the village. So that aids in the drainage. They removed the tree on Main Street in front of the Chase Bank that was deemed to cause a tripping hazard there. Repaired and replaced signs at various village locations. Pothole repair and berm repair. To date, they've used 300 tons of asphalt in pothole and berm repair throughout the village. They completed a post-storm inspection report, which Jared does regularly whenever there's a big rain event, taking pictures, including pictures at the bluff below the country club. Together with the Parks Department, they've been hanging the flower baskets, watering the flower baskets, and they planted flowers in the flower boxes on the streets of the village. As far as the CAC, Trustee Yagrinsky and I were at a class, met with someone from the Climate Smart community, and I know there's going to be a resolution at our next meeting that will assign the CAC as the Climate Smart Task Force. And the CAC, I'll fill them in on their new responsibilities. They meet on the 24th. Pollinated gardens, met with the mayor and different people about pollinated gardens, discussed various options for the 1/2 acre required for planting, including in some of the areas that were thrown out, the 6-acre parkland, Tucker House, the barn right here behind Village Hall, basketball courts, or not on the basketball courts, but by the basketball courts, Village Center, traffic circles at the entrances to the country club.
And that's a grant, right?
And that's a grant, yes.
From the Citizens Commission on the Citizens on the Environment.
Yes,
Something on the
I
environment.
know, I get it confused
with
between the
with,
CCE, yeah,
Adrian Esposito, right?
right.
So it's a shared grant between the village, it's really the town of Brookhaven, the village of Patchogue, and the
And
village of Port
Patchogue,
Jefferson.
right.
We applied together for that grant through Adrian Esposito's organization, and we won the grant. So we have permission to plant a 1/2 acre of pollinator gardens. So do you want to talk through what our process will be to try and help
Okay.
get crowdsource the
Yeah,
decision
so
on where to go?
We're going to get different people, different groups involved, and let them actually vote and say, okay, these are the areas that, that we think might work best. Do you have any other areas? And then we'll rank the top 3, and then we'll come up with an area. Or it could be, well, it doesn't have to be one area. It could be all 3 areas if we want to do it.
Can you imagine the whole Tucker House property?
Yeah.
That's like, would be amazing to landscape that
To
property
landscape
with a grant.
through a
with
grant,
Pollinator
yeah.
garden, would be cool,
Mhm.
when it's ours.
Yeah, yes. Going to pass this out. The CAC is also recommending, if you remember, Myrna spoke to us probably close to a year ago about single-use plastics. Two there, and then one from me. So we should
Kyle
have-
carried that water somewhat?
Yes,
Yes, yeah.
absolutely. So what we're looking at is this is, the description in the background, it talks about all the problems. And on the second page is proposed language that we want to add to the Village Center rental permit or rental agreement. And I can read it. Single-use plastics. The Village Center does not permit single-use plastics for room rentals. This includes cutlery, cups, dishes, single-use bottles, single-serve bottles, straws, drinking stirrers, single-use drinking cups and lids, plates, and non-compostable eating utensils. Biodegradable and sustainable single-use materials are acceptable. Alternatives include paper or other biodegradable straws, paper cups and plates, and bamboo cutlery. Please provide drinks from a larger size containers to be poured into paper cups or from aluminum cans if you prefer to have single-serving drink options. And then there would be a space. Do you agree by the single-use plastic policy? We'd ask them to initial next to the yes. So this would be included in, and I'll leave it up to Renee where it should be included, but it might be right below the alcohol policy. If she, however how she can fit something like that in.
And in the event they say no?
That would be a requirement for them to rent the room.
Well, we're asking them if they abide by the single-use
Right,
plastics
they would-
policy.
Why don't we start with making it a carrot rather than a stick and say, there's a discount if you use renewables.
No discounts.
If it's gonna be a policy,
and the board's inclined to make it a policy, then it should be an acknowledgement, not a question.
Yeah,
Okay.
agreed,
All right.
yeah.
Then,
I
yeah, we could
acknowledge
just,
this.
instead of where the yes is, they could just initial here, you know, that
And there's a little bit of
you've
work,
seen this, you know.
yeah, there's a little bit of work that
I
the
hereby
staff has to
acknowledge
do.
The above-mentioned policy.
Yeah.
Just an acknowledgement that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
So to talk to some of the more prominent vending caterers that come in and do these parties and these events, and that's typically two in particular. So that's on the checklist too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
To talk to them.
Yeah, we don't have preferred vendors that they use for the,
Correct.
you know, but we know which vendors
Repeat
are
vendors, yeah.
used most,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll do this by resolution at the next meeting.
Okay. Yay,
Good,
Great.
good,
Thank you.
teamwork.
yeah.
There'll be folks in the village that'll be
Super
very excited.
happy.
And also,
And there'll be
we should
folks
do
that'll
a shout out to Myrna Gordon, right?
Myrna Gordon.
Yeah,
Myrna
Myrna Gordon
Gordon,
and
yes.
Holly Filame.
Yeah.
They've been pushing for this for a while, and they'll be very excited.
And Mary Bernero is the one who contacted you about it too, so.
Right, presented to the CAC.
We just didn't know how to, so thanks for bringing it to the finish line.
Yeah.
I also might propose if the people who promulgated this, if they could, not everybody's gonna know what that means, even though they're acknowledging that it exists. Oh, I just need to use a plastic fork, or whatever. So maybe we promulgate a list of acceptable material.
Yeah, the Eco League, which Holly runs,
Yeah.
they've agreed to put together that list, and then if folks want to do like a downtown purchase, Melanie from Simple Good has agreed to be a local vendor. They want to, the kind of vision there is, these are options, they're not required to use any of these, just trying to make it easier for folks. But they could put in an order with Melanie, and then Melanie's staff or the party person can go pick it up at the store, which is just down the street.
And Melanie did come in to talk to us about this too recently, so it's all coming together
Mhm.
in a timely fashion, so.
So now the next step would be to also include that in something, here at Village Hall and up at 88 North Country Road, just the cups that we use or whatever, if we can look into changing those around too. But
I know that golf courses have been eliminating plastic cups and
Yeah.
styrofoam cups altogether and
Mhm.
encouraging their,
And
the people who come play to bring.
to bring their own water bottles, right.
Yeah.
yeah.
No one
In non-plastic
Reuse
cups,
cans.
right.
No.
Recyclable aluminum.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
anything else?
Tree Committee. Tree Committee would like to use a portion of the $17,000 in their budget to purchase tree watering bags. They would like to, up to $1,000 to be placed. And the tree watering bags, and I'm sure everybody's seen them, they're like a green bag that goes maybe like 4 feet high. They hold 5 or 6 gallons of water, so it would save on our DPW having to water a tree regularly, especially for newly planted trees. They would fill up the bag, and then as the tree needs water, the water would dissipate into the ground, and then they would fill up the bag again. But they wouldn't have to go there on a regular basis, every other day or whatever to water the trees. So they have the money in the budget, so they like to spend up to $1,000. They've done a little preliminary cost analysis, but they think that if we could probably get a cheaper. They just looked on Amazon and said there's a basic cost for these things, but we could probably get it cheaper if we talk to find some vendors if there's somebody on the
We should get
state
three
code.
quotes.
Oh yeah, absolutely, but. So if we can.
Who would do that?
Um,
Jarrett? It's Trees in the Village?
It's trees in
Maybe
the village,
it's
so.
Parks. I think
yeah.
it's Parks.
Yeah, exactly, so it'd
So
be
you wanna
DPW.
Talk to Jarrett
Yeah.
and,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep. Tree pit preparation for replanting. The committee requests that the deteriorating Bradford pears in the back by the Salt Meadow lot be removed. The trees are in the dying, they're in different state of disrepair. So they're suggesting that those trees be removed, and in addition to them being removed, there'll be stump grinding so that can be future planting in the fall. In addition to those trees, they want the tree that was recently taken down that I spoke about, that DPW took down on Main Street over by the Chase Bank. Get a stump grinder in there so a new tree can be planted. They're looking for a meeting to be set probably by the end of the month or beginning of July, just with DPW, just to go over those and just to talk with them about the possibility and what trees and and how to proceed with that. So I'll set up a meeting with the tree with members, not the whole committee, but members of the tree committee and Jared, and we'll set something up. And I was a little remiss. Two members of the tree committee went to Kingston for the Tree City Award, and I said, yes, your travel plans would be, your travel costs would be reimbursed. But then in talking to Stephen, he said that our village policy doesn't really cover committee members. It covers boards and, village board or planning board members or ZBA members. So I guess maybe at the next meeting, we can do a resolution that would allow them to be reimbursed for their travel costs to go up to Kingston, that they, when they receive the Tree City USA Award.
If they could send the receipts to my attention.
Okay,
and then I can.
I have them, so I'll forward it, and Stephen has it too, but yes, I'll forward it over to you.
Thank you.
Commission on Coastal Erosion, we had the interim report, it was presented, so as soon as we get their further input, then we'll place it on the website. They're looking for the FEMA application concerning Phase 1 and 2. I don't know if you have it, and we discussed that at the meeting. It's probably just a little blurb saying, yeah, here's the application. It doesn't go into a lot of detail about what is but they want to take a look at it. So if you can find it someplace, the application.
And they didn't need to.
They were still,
see it anymore.
there was, we discussed it and said it doesn't go into much description, but they still said, well, we'd like to see it. So if we have it, if we can find it, we can present it to them.
I mean, I literally thought they said it's moot because Phase 2 is being redesigned.
Okay, because I left it, we're talking and they said.
Let's just follow up with David and
right.
Robert and Bob one more time.
Okay.
Okay, just so the clerk isn't chasing
Yes,
something.
you're not going after something that they don't, okay, I will follow up with them. And the next meeting is going to be here in Village Hall on July 10th. We met last week and there was a party going on and there was a lot of noise going on up there. We could not hear people, so we said, can we move it to Village Hall? I said, yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Where? Where in Village Hall?
We'll probably do it
There's
in
a
a
lot of
conference room,
them. There's a
or
lot
we
of
could do it up here.
There's a lot of
Yeah, just,
people.
yeah, there's a lot of people, yeah. So we could do it up here and
As long as
just
it-
spread the tables out.
As long as it doesn't coincide with some other standing meeting,
Right.
Yeah.
But if we do it at Village Hall, certain people can sit around the table, other people can sit around in the back, but we can
There's
we
a
can get
limited
to it.
number
I
of
know,
chairs,
yeah.
that's the only
And
problem.
there are a lot of people
Yeah,
at that,
there are a
yeah.
lot of people. And we can
Uh,
ask if there's, because Tuesday night, there's usually not something
It's a
going on.
Thursday night. It's a
I mean,
Thursday.
Thursday night, there's usually not.
Right, I don't know when planning, I think planning's usually,
Planning has. Budget and finance, too. But, so, what date is the next meeting?
10th,
The
July
10th, which
10th.
is the second
is the second Thursday, yeah.
And I think planning is the second Thursday, because it's the 12th this week, tomorrow night, planning board.
Mm.
So just check,
Okay,
maybe DPW conference room, maybe?
Oh.
That's an idea. But, for consistency purposes, let's see with Blessings if there's anything going on Thursday night. And then,
Okay.
okay?
yeah,
And okay.
okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, check the listings first. If there's nothing going on, then we won't have
That
an
won't
issue.
have it's not a, Hava Nagila night.
You're right. And Conservancy, they're finalizing the website, and once their website is launched, they hope to be included in the village website with a link from the village website. Hill Climb is scheduled for August 9th. Their next gala casino night in November, they're going to do a casino night, and that's scheduled for November. Same location, and they hope to give out another Nan Gazette award. They're continuing to support beautification, the country club, through T-sign sponsorships to help buy new trees, shrubs, boulders, etc. at the club. They received sponsorship money from Northwell and St. Charles to sponsor the Farmers Market winter music concerts and upcoming summer series. Lisa Perry met with the mayor and the treasurer to discuss how conservancy monies can be used in proper protocols and how to get the money from one group to the other. And I think Lisa also met with the village and with the budget and finance committee to introduce the conservancy and just explain what the conservancy does. And
How'd that go?
You know, I thought that was a really useful exercise, and I think that as soon as there's the procedures have been formalized, I think a little broader communication out, maybe highlighted in one of the Village Voice, editions, just to show, like, here's what they do, because it was really useful. Like, walking out, a number of folks were like, well, thank you. Like, I really never understood how the two work together, so.
Good.
Yeah, we should, a little more information out to the public, I think, would be welcome.
good. And that's my report.
Okay. Mr. Commissioner of Parks, I want to show you something, okay? And the rest of the board, too. So, the Haywood family, Robin, the daughter, is looking to invest in another sign at the park. That is the Joe Erlin Field at Haywood Park. Because they were wondering if we could put a sign on the fence facing Caroline Avenue, so that when you're driving past Caroline Avenue, you know what's there. So Fran took an opportunity to design that sign to scale. She put it in a CAD format to show what it would look like. And it's 6 feet.
Yeah. And sort of consistent, like,
Very
with the
consistent with-
theme
yeah.
that we've been
The
sort of
color and the
moving
theme
to
of it, yeah.
design-wise, yeah.
So you guys like that? We don't need to vote on that, do we? No. Just sharing it with you to show you what, and so we designed it, and the Haywood family will pay for the cost of producing it,
Very
which
generous.
is nice, yeah. Here you go. You want to zoom in, Chris? Do you approve, Treasurer?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Trustee Ugrinsky.
All right, I am trying not to step on anything that, actually, maybe we have Treasurer Gafka go, and then I can add whatever he's
Sure,
missing,
absolutely.
because we've been working very closely, so.
She's yielding her time.
Not yielding. Oh, no. I will take my time, thank you very much.
All right, I'll try and be quick. We opened the 2026 budget, so we're creating purchase orders, and we're going through that whole process of making our open POs for the various items that we have set amounts that we pay, utilities, health insurance, all of those items. In fact, my deputy is still here probably doing that right now. So that's going on. Also trying to set up monthly meetings up at the country club with the staff there to go over the finances and to kind of rein in some of the procurement procedures going on up there, so that we can really manage and help them, give them the tools to manage their budgets even better now that they've gotten some of the software, to really teach them how to better utilize it so that they can kind of follow what's going on. We've received some of the information to begin our fiscal 2025 audit. So we're going through that. We're not starting it yet, because the moment you send anything over to the auditors, you have to stop your work in that fiscal year. And we still have more work to do to clean some things up, end of the year journal entries and the like. One of the things, and wanted to mention, the capital asset valuation report, the final report. We received that today, which was sent out. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at your emails, but the final report, so we have it. And the really good thing about that,
Myrna just walked in, for those who cannot see what we're seeing.
I was watching, thank you. This is not permitted, but I had to come back. Lauren, everybody, Bob, Kyle, thank you so much. You will not be disappointed. This will be a wonderful initiative. Thank you. Goodbye.
For the record, that was Myrna thanking the board for the actions on
Thank
the
you for the idea.
single-use.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Myrna. And then, so.
They're actually watching. They're really watching.
So the great thing about the capital asset valuation report is now with the material weakness that has been a part of our audits the last 10 years will come off. And that was confirmed with our auditors. And working with the team that developed the fiscal 2024 report to update it with the fiscal 2025 data so that we have this routine going every year so that this is not something that could fall off again. The procedure will be in place and we'll be able to continue this in perpetuity to always have this information and never lose it again.
So, go ahead, Bob.
Can I ask a question? So I looked at it very briefly, so I really didn't go into any detail, but I was looking at one of the charts and like it was showing the land, what it was originally purchased for and the depreciation. So would it eventually depreciate to zero? Is that what would happen or?
Yes.
Okay.
But
Okay,
it's,
so
I mean, in terms of the worth for this type of report, I mean, it's
Right.
worth.
Oh, I
know,
understand,
right?
yeah.
But yes,
But I
all
know
of-
that was the goal if the
Yeah,
the land
that's-
value would,
That's the whole point of the useful life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like a paved road is 25 years. So, you start from $1 million road, but after 25 years,
Sure.
it's not worth anything. And at that point in time, if you're able to, you put that depreciation value away in like a reserve, ideally in a perfect world, so that at the end of that useful life, you repaid it.
but that's why I was specifically asking about land, so. Would the land value, would that go down to zero too? I mean, not that it's valued at zero, but.
It's not the market value, right?
Right, exactly, it's not,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's really the improvements on the land
Okay.
that would depreciate, not the land itself,
Right.
but it's the improvements on the land
Like I said, I
value.
looked at it very, very
Yeah.
briefly, so.
No, the land itself doesn't depreciate. It's but the improvements of the land,
Okay.
things like building a park and sidewalks, all of that
Sure.
does. So happy to go over that report with anybody, when there's time. Parking permits, the village has
Wait,
approved.
before you
Sure.
go on, if you had to take one thing away from that report, what would it be?
The one thing is that over the last 10 years, the assets were actually being undervalued, but also underdepreciated. So really, in that 10 years, we've added a significant amount of value to the village, and then it's depreciated since then. So we're pretty close in what the number was 10 years ago as the full number. It actually went up by about 20 million as the original cost with the improvements. So we're down about 2 million from what was on the previous audit, which will require some adjustments to be made in that asset value. But all in all, it could have been much worse than it was. And thankfully, because we were able to gather enough of the data together, we realized, and tie it back to the original values, we were able to bridge that gap so that we didn't lose any continuity or have any major adjustments that would reflect poorly.
Does that get reported on it's not the AUD anymore, I forget I don't know what it's called now, but does that get reported to the state,
The NFR, what is it? The
The AFR,
AFR?
I think the total value of our assets will get reported to the state. Yeah, that's part of it. That's a small piece of it. The state's more concerned in the day-to-day,
Yeah.
are you doing everything right? Where's everything classified? And then like what your fiscal stress is. But yes, that's part of it. Going to just parking permits, there's been over 2,800 permits approved, just under 2,500 owner permits and about 370 renter permits. It's a heavy lift to go through all of those permits, and the clerk's office and staff, they do a really good job of getting through that and answering all the calls and emails. And, we're continuously looking to try and improve that process. So hopefully we'll have some better improvements for the upcoming season. I want to touch on the country club a little bit. As of 5/31, 512 memberships were sold. That membership revenue is around 1.9 million. That's down from last year. Last year we were at 559 memberships sold, over 600 members with the couples.
At the
so-
same time last year?
Yeah. We had additions and subtractions over the summer that came and went, medical, this, that, the other reason. But we were right at about 559 last year as of June. So we're down a little bit. I think there were some resignations due to health and issues, and maybe some of the late start with getting the rates out. Maybe there weren't as much, but the last couple of years, it looks like it's been going a little bit down. So it's ebbs and flows. But speaking with Danielle, who's in the membership office, she said there's still a lot of interest from new members. So she's going through that. She has a couple applications that aren't finalized yet. She's done some walkthroughs, and there's still interest. And speaking with the pros, they said that the member guest was so successful that they think that they may even get some memberships from that. So that's all positive. The course is in great condition, according to those I've spoken with, and everybody seems to be happy with that aspect. Debt service. This is something to discuss with the board, is that we have those 4 resolutions that we're going to borrow for the grants that we related to the August 18th, 19 storm. The retaining wall, the culvert, doing the sidewalks, the rest of the sidewalks for the park. And I'm forgetting the other piece. Retaining wall, culvert, sidewalks, and there's one more. Why don't I remember this? The retaining wall, the culvert, the sidewalks.
East Beach Road?
No. Either way, that's not. You know what? It's not even germane. It's not germane to what this is. I'll remember it after I'm done talking, I'm sure. We may be able to renew the October ban that we have for Oakwood Road. So we have a ban outstanding from July 2020. Anything left on that ban, we're going to pay off with some of the grant funds we've received. It has to be converted into a bond, because you can keep a ban for 5 years as a ban. There will be less than $1 million to roll into a bond on that piece. The recharge basin was done later and will be rolled over again as a ban until we get the rest of the grant money to pay that down. We might be able to borrow that early, up to 90 days early, with the new borrowing, and then we'll get a better interest rate, and we'll end up paying less for the fees through bond counsel and through our financial services to get that borrowing set up. It would be something that I would recommend doing, and if I would like to proceed with that methodology, when we do that borrowing to combine it, we'll get a better rate because it'll be a bigger amount of money. There'll be more banks competing. We'll also cut down on some of the costs with multiple borrowings in the year. So with the board's permission, I'd like to proceed with that action. That would be my recommendation, but I wanted the board to have a chance to weigh in on that, because it could be a lot of money, if, you know, tens of thousands for a bond or ban renewal.
Yes?
No, just want to seek input. There's no, you're not voting on anything, just want to seek your input.
That's absolutely.
Yeah, so that's going to be on your resolution list for the end of the month?
It doesn't even need a resolution. We just have to do it. So I just wanted to gauge, you know, in this session, make sure that everybody's comfortable with me moving forward with that. Because that's not something we've typically done, with renewing that early on a ban.
But it's ultimately going to save us money.
Yes,
Okay.
Why would you not?
it's a lot of money, so I want to make sure
Yeah.
everybody's comfortable with it. And that's it. I'm done talking.
How's taxes coming in? Any idea?
We've brought in close to 500,000 so far. Our biggest tax payments come in towards the end of the month. We get a few $1 million come in from the
Mortgages.
the mortgages
Yeah.
and those companies. But it is coming in. It's coming in a little faster than it did last year too.
Good.
Quick question, is the parking committee meeting soon?
Yes.
Did they meet this week, or?
I'd have to check. I'm not entirely, I don't have it in front of me, but I think so. I think they're meeting soon.
Because there's, and I'll bring this up here, so that if we get some sort of advisory opinion from the parking committee to address this issue, there are contractors that work in the village under contract by business owners, people who are renovating their, houses, or even the library. There was a time when, the contractors were parked on East Main Street. And, the contractors come in here frequently with tickets and having to pay, our court clerk for parking issues when they're actually just working and their truck is parked behind the building in the Mariner parking lot, or, something. So one of the things the parking committee is going to discuss is whether or not we should just have a temporary use sort of placard or something that a business owner could give to their contractor, based on an official request, that they're getting work done. Like, for example, maybe the Pindar space has been having work done inside. Their contractor keeps getting tickets. So,
If you're gonna proceed that way, one, it should be incumbent upon the contractor himself, otherwise you're gonna lose track of these passes. And two, we should also have a discussion with our code director they don't get tickets if we don't write them. And if we want to ease off of the working man who's working and legitimately not parked, but legitimately they're working, we have to input some discretion in our code officers to use that discretion wisely. I understand the problem with that, but on the flip side of it, if you're going to issue some type of temporary work associated with a period, it shouldn't be handled by the owner. It should be handled by the contractor himself.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. So if you can remember that in case I'm not at
Yep.
that meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay, Trustee Grinsky, do you have anything to add?
I do, with respect to, the prior year, just so that everybody's aware, I mean, a prior year close typically takes 1 to 2 months to do because there continue to be invoices that come in and various, so, I don't want to rush getting the auditors going on that because we should be buttoned up before we hand it over. The second thing is that, Treasurer Gafka mentioned financial reporting. So we've spent quite a bit of time now in Edmonds, so, which is the financial software that we use. And the budget is in there by month, by department. So we're at a point now where we can run variance reports every month that say this was what your spend was budgeted to, this is what you have spent, and we can start having conversations on where is the run rate higher, maybe unexpectedly, but then working with them to figure out how to continue to keep things flat, right? And giving them some accountability for managing their own budgets. Part of what came out of that, though, is there are a number of things that could be better and make the finance team's life easier in the software. So Treasurer Gafka and I were on a couple of calls with Edmonds, and we're just getting some insight. It's been a while since it was implemented, so obviously, they've made some improvements to the software in the interim, and we just want to make sure that we're leveraging it to its full ability. With respect to the asset report, I have not sent that to the Budget and Finance Committee yet, so it needed to go out to this group first. So should I wait a week to send it out, or are you guys okay with me sending it now?
It's draft, right?
No, this is the final.
So I have no
Fabulous.
concerns.
Okay, and that came out, you can't print it.
No, you can't.
Yeah, so, I mean, that I sometimes am.
You
when
can't what?
reviewing-
Print it.
Can't print it, so,
Print it? No.
yeah, they locked it down.
Yeah, I tried to
So-
print, I wanted to print one page because of that question, and it needed a password.
I will look into that and get that rectified.
Yeah, it's just something they
I didn't
probably-
attempt to print it, so I didn't.
Yeah, like I said, just wanted to print that one page, so I remembered to ask you about that, and it was asking for a password.
Okay, and we brought up metrics a little earlier. So just want to report, now that we've had a PO process in place for some time, and we've got some data that the treasurer and I went through today, it's telling a very interesting story about, the behavior modification that needed to happen. So in other words, who was doing POs, who wasn't, and who was figuring out how to get around the process. So happy to report that, I don't know, I would say probably not quite 50% of the expenditures were going through the process. We didn't start it until, what month, November? Yeah, and so there's some follow-up to do, but I think it's going to, yield some additional controls that are, spend controls that are important. And then I mentioned software, so we've also been speaking to the gentleman who installed Lightspeed at the country club, and we're exploring ways that we can more fully leverage that. And then the mayor and I met with a young man earlier this week, Pranav Sathe Anare Anand. And he's going to help us with an initiative, a software inventory. So at this point, we don't have a good list, a good solid list of the software that everybody's using in each of the departments. So we should at least have a handle on that and understand, like who's the admin, who's the redundant admin for everything that is being used for mission-critical activities by each department. And that's actually important, and that's not a heavy lift, right? It's sending out a form and just having everybody just take 5 minutes and fill it out. But why is it important? We have until December to move from .com to .gov, and that is an opportunity to have a look at our cybersecurity posture, right? I noted that when we were up at NICOM, that was a big topic of conversation, and they had Homeland Security in there speaking to us, and I've spent some time at Booz Allen, so I know the importance of it. And doing a project like the .gov migration is a perfect opportunity to make sure that we are about as secure as we can and should be. So, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to talk about this a little bit? That's Michelle's masterpiece. So DPW has been supplementing the work of the maintenance requirements, and not maintenance, but monitoring requirements for the Phase 1 of the Bluff project as required by the DOS, Department of State. So rather than having GEI come and review post-storm situations and especially after name storms, that kind of thing, doesn't benefit us. And we also have the crew to be able to do this adequately and effectively.
I touch base with Jared, whenever we know that there's a fairly large rainstorm coming, and he says, nope, I'm on it, I'll go down there and, take pictures and.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Michelle has been pulling this together and compiling the reports on a monthly basis, and that's, so the trustees will have seen that in your documentation.
Yeah.
And this supplements what GEI will be reporting, or whoever, we'll probably go out to bid on the monitoring reports going forward, just to get a sense of, are we paying the right price, are we doing the right thing, and but this will definitely help that process moving forward. And so I guess I'll start my report, and I'm going to supplement some of the things that you've talked about. We are right now, I don't know if I think they started today. We have a crew down at East Beach parking lot, maintaining, sandblasting that steel wall between the parking lot and the rocks. Yeah, because they were supposed to start Monday, but the weather didn't permit it. And they had to build barriers on either side of the wall to protect from the debris from going over the wall and to protect the sidewalk under the wall. So, so they're starting to, it might be done because they were going to sandblast today. The DPW crew was going to follow them along the way and apply the.
I call it painting, but it's not, it's more than painting.
It's an application of material, yes. So we will continue maintaining that wall internally from here going forward. So very excited about that, and it was really brought to my attention by a resident. So I want to thank that resident who brought it to our attention, and then we got to actually execute against it using refunded FEMA money, right, from the August storms?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep. Yes, Mayor.
So just really quick, we talked a little bit about projects through Stephen's report and Bob, and one of the projects we're working on, which is very exciting, has a lot of stakeholders. I've been talking about it, is the hazard mitigate. It's the flood reduction study that we awarded the contract last month to. That was the bond? Talk about it then.
The hazard mitigation flood reduction study through FEMA that we awarded to LKMA, that was the bond resolution that for some reason I couldn't remember it.
Okay.
But
So,
yeah.
Okay. So McLean has already started meeting with stakeholders. Today, they met with the fire department, the fire district, and sought approval to test soil borings out from the back of where Crystal Lake is. And the commissioners are going to vote on that, whether or not that's something that they would allow them to do tonight. It seemed positive, seemed like optimistic. And Trustee Ugrinsky came to that session with us, and then also Trustee Giuliano came to the meeting with the school district today. And the goal is to take soil borings from the bowl to see what's going on under there. They don't have any recent soil borings, and neither does the fire department. I don't think the fire department has any soil borings. That's what they seem to think. So we'll find out for sure. But with the school district, they'll have to apply for a kind of a facilities use permit, not to charge money for it or anything, but just to make sure all the insurance issues are taken care of, that kind of thing. So, and the expiration date of that grant is, this project has, this design sort of study has to be done by January in 2026. So they have a good 7 months to get all this work done. And they've hit the ground running. They deployed a drone on last week, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, I don't know what, but or maybe it was even earlier this week. But that is to take a topographical study of did I already say this in this group? Because I've talked about this a couple times. Okay. You've heard me say it a few times. So if you, the subject area is northeastern corner of Harborfront Park, where the yacht club is, all the way to the southwest side of where Brook Road meets Old Post Road West and all points in between. So it's a study that can measure the topo within a finger. What did you?
Centimeter.
Yeah.
It's centimeter accuracy.
Yeah, and it's really, really high tech. And the beauty of this is that as part of our MS4 requirement through the DEC, we had to map we had to create an updated map of all the storm drains infrastructure of the village, and this area of the village, and we had approved HADUC to do it for a fee, and this study will offset the need to do that with HADUC, and this will supplement the report that we provide to DEC through MS4. So we saved some money there too. Anyway, McLean has some ideas. They talked through the ideas with both the fire district and the commissioners and the school district administration, the superintendent of facility, deputy superintendent of facilities, and deputy superintendent of finance or administration, I guess, Sean Leister. And we walked the property, we walked the bowl, and we saw the project that they had recently had done through the same storm, the same emergency storm mitigation through FEMA of the bowl where they built that riprap and what are they called?
Gabons.
Yeah.
Gabions.
Gabions, yeah, the gabions, because they lost a whole chunk of land there. So anyway, the discussions are starting with the stakeholders. We also have to get in front of the town to talk about the area underneath the marina parking lot, and potentially the state to talk about the area underneath West Broadway. So we've got a lot of stakeholders, and then we also are going to put them in touch at some point in the near future with all those businesses downtown in the area of interest: Theater 3, Ruvo, Oldfields, Chandler Square, Danford's. Just need to get all of these folks together to really understand, and they feel optimistic that they're going to be able to design something that will have an impact on the flooding. So it remains to be seen, and it would have to be built. It's not immediate cure, but it is something that shows some promise.
I'm amazed with their proposed design, or it's not designed yet, but what they want to do in the bowl. It's unbelievable what they're proposing to do right there.
The concept is to create a storage feature, but it would take a lot of work with the school district
Yes.
to get it done. And it's premature to talk about it, and I'd like them to kind of explain it. But the work they've done and the information they already have, based on the research and everything they've done, is impressive. And so it's exciting. It'll be interesting to see what these soil borings show, and what comes next. Bob, I just wanted to say thank you for putting this whole piece together on the single-use plastic. You turned that around in 2 days. Both of you did this?
Yeah, that was
So did you
combined
do this,
effort
Scott?
between.
We both worked on it, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just an update on planning board from our planning department. The meeting is tomorrow night. Some of the items on the agenda is reviewing the public hearing on conditional use application of 1037 Main Street to convert an existing single-family residence into a two-family residence within the RO Residential Office District. There is a application of 1601 to 1607 Main Street, the Commons LLC. This is a project for proposed demolition for Conifer 2, really. We know it as Conifer 2. And so this is an active application now because they got the funding that they needed to move forward. And I believe, I saw an email today that looks like they may get started in September or October. Did I read that right? Planning board will also review and discuss a site plan amendment of 75 North Country Road, Mather Northwell, to introduce And the application and review ARC comments for a proposed emergency power system upgrade. And speaking of the Architectural Review Committee, they met yesterday and continued talking about, they met on May 29th and met again yesterday in person to continue talking about the architectural design guidelines. I think they're getting pretty close to presenting this document, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. It's interesting, if anybody has time to sit through their meetings, they talk about all kinds of things, and philosophically and also structurally and creatively about what's going on in the village. And they were talking yesterday a little bit about the corners of the commercial districts and how they deserve special attention, and discussed how the master plan does address that that corners, like the gateway corners from the where the train station is, and at Main Street, gateway corners, the gateway corner where One North is, where the now printing store is, and then going down to where the old Gap building is. And so it's just interesting that they're focusing on this. And the other thing we talked about, and we talked about at the Civic Association meeting on Monday. Yeah, is it Monday? On a Monday night, was really revisiting the comprehensive plan that went from 2010 to 2030, and to really start the process of maybe looking at a new comprehensive plan to go from 2030 to 2050, and starting that process maybe coming up next year at some point. Because it would be nice to be able to take a comprehensive plan and actually have it ready on the day that it is effective. So,
And Mayor, I've been getting a lot of positive feedback on the fact that they were willing to come and speak to the Civic. I
Yeah.
think that was, every time we have, like, maybe we should have multiple departments coming in. I'll float that to them as a sort of a continuation, because every time residents get exposure to how the village runs,
it's helpful.
they're always grateful.
Mhm.
Grateful, yeah.
So Trustee
The Civic,
Yursky means,
The Port Jeff Civic Association.
no, the other they, which is the chair of the planning board and the
Right.
chair of the zoning board of appeals. Yeah, so thank you. It's great that they are interested in that too. The walkability study, did you mention that
No.
in your report? You want to do that?
I really don't have anything on it, guys, so.
Oh, just the update where we
Where we met with them?
met with them? Oh, were you?
That wasn't there.
So, really? I'm like, my brain is.
No, you know what? I was there.
Yeah, I think.
That's right. We couldn't both be in the room.
Mhm.
So, okay, so the Port Jeff Civic Association has a subcommittee that is responsible for walkability. And so Janice Fleischman had reached out to me and asked if there were some way that they could get involved with the village more directly on that. So I ran it by the mayor, and subsequently we scheduled a meeting with Hayduck to review again the original walkability study they had done, and then had an opportunity for the walkability committee representatives to speak directly with Hayduck. And what came out of that meeting is a short list of very inexpensive things that we could do that would have an immediate impact on both safety and foot traffic, walkability. So.
The demonstration projects.
Yep, and I think it's a great start, right? It's just the beginning, and as those two start gelling a little more, I think we'll probably start looking for some grants that we can go after that are specific to, ideas 4, 5, 6, 7. And, yeah, and I'd love to have safety involved in that too, right?
Yeah, and they've, the walkability group, study group, right? I think it's study, right? Either way, the walkability group
It's a
came
committee.
to, they've come to public safety a few times, and everyone's invited. And we talked about them, and I went around with Janice and Marilyn to go look at the spots in the HIDA report. And they sent a letter to us asking for 3 things, and then the Public Safety Advisory Council endorsed agreed with the recommendations in that letter. And that was kind of where we are now.
Great. So the next steps are for HADUC to actually draw up the plans for the 2 demonstration projects.
And then we'll come back together, discuss them, see, how much of that can be done in-house. And it kind of feels like most of those first 2 can be done in-house, so.
And there's still a little bit of money in that budget, right?
Yes. Mayor.
Man, a few words today.
One of my favorite people.
Wait till you meet his intern. It's a mini-me, I'm told.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So zoning board of appeals is meeting on, or no, I'll skip through that. So the Economic Opportunity Task Force met on June 3rd following the bid meeting, the Business Improvement District meeting. Business Improvement District voted on and approved Melanie Gonzalez to be on the board, and so opened up a spot for the village appointment on the bid. So Melanie's now a director, and we have an opportunity to appoint a new member to the board. Not a director, but a member to the board. And so the bid sent us the list, I haven't looked at it yet, of who's there and what the requirements are, because there's specific bylaw requirements that you have to meet in order to appoint the next person to that. So the village has an opportunity to appoint someone, as Melanie was appointed at the recommendation of former trustee Cassay, which was a really great recommendation by trustee Cassay, because Melanie is fantastic on that board, on that bid. So when the Economic Opportunity Task Force met, there was some discussion. We started talking about open storefronts, empty storefronts and what to do. And one of the members, Isabel Brahaney Schaefer, has a contact at Gallery North. And Gallery North seems to be interested in working some pop-up situations in the village in empty storefronts. So we're pursuing that. And I don't know if it'll work out for the former Gap building, but the chamber is also talking to the former Gap building owners, and they've expressed interest, and I don't know how legit this is, in installing a temporary arcade or something. So the storefront is a disaster. I've been asking code really to, crack down on what it looks like and enforce the ordinance that prevents storefronts from looking like that. And so there seems to be some motion moving forward, but if you have to say it every week for 5 weeks straight, there's something going on, right? What else? 49 vendors have signed up and are participating in the farmers market, which moved outside earlier in May. And we had 6,358 visitors in the village center. I'm just reading off stuff for Trustee Lauk, since he's not here with us tonight.
How many visitors?
6,400 about, yeah.
Yeah.
For the village center, and they count, and I'm not even sure, they're probably missing some,
Right.
So just a little update from our superintendent at the golf course. The team up there really helps out with the areas around the golf course and keeping things maintained and groomed nicely. They have planted, weeded, and finalized the wall, the East Beach roadway retaining wall, so that it's all planted and ready for the season. Again, they bought those plants from a wholesale distributor, and so they got a pretty good deal. They actually got running water to the wall so that they can irrigate and water the plants to keep them going. And they also planted and weeded the west circle, and they're working with Lessings to clean up the north side of the street. And some of the hardscape that goes on, that's around the lower level of the country club building. I showed everyone earlier, and you have in your handouts today, some images of the Lessings wants to change out the signs, and they've already removed the existing signs that say water view on them, or the grill, or whatever it said for a while there. And so they provided us with a look at some of the renderings of what these could look like. And I just wanted to share it with the trustees tonight to see if you have any feedback, or if you want to take it home and consider any feedback. My feedback is written on here in scribble. I think if we go with the blue, I think it should be Port Jeff PMS, which is 294. I think we need a logo on the location of the country club, and the location at the corner of Christopher Hollow Road and North Country Road. I also thought that the location where they wanted to put the sign on next to the building was kind of. Did you see this, Zena? Okay, was kind of awkward. Wasn't really crazy about it. Maybe it needs to be green because everything else is green. And if it's green, maybe it should be the same PMS green that Fran uses in her designs. And then, I don't know what you all feel about this one. Blue, green. I kind of like the green in that location. But I don't know if you all think we should be consistent with the color throughout. It's going to be the PMS blue, which this is not. And I felt the same thing about the turn. And I wasn't crazy about at P period J period C period C period and that font. I wasn't crazy about that either. And I think that's how it is existing, so it's no fault. I think they were just like trying to.
I do think the positioning of the signage, like from the corner of North Country and Crystal Brook Hollow, I think there could actually be a need for a second one, where I'm not sure what that road is. Yeah, Old Post Road goes off, because I just think that people
People get
sometimes
lost. Well, that's an
bank
easy.
right as opposed to.
That's an easy fix with DPW. Because they make those little blue signs that say.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I just think we need one there.
All right.
And,
You want to
yeah.
make a note of that?
Yeah. I think there was a post there that we had.
originally.
Had something like that, but yeah. Yeah, that's an easy.
years ago, I remember that being.
Any other thoughts about it?
I like the blue.
Yeah,
You know,
I like the green, but I think it might be because it's not the blue.
The right color
It's not
blue?
the
village
yeah.
blue.
All right, well, let's ask we'll ask him to take a look at it with the 294 and send it back to us. I'm just grateful that, and any other ideas about the location? Does anybody else feel that way about the location of that sign?
You need a sign.
I don't know, yeah, exactly.
You already figured it out by
Here we
now.
are. In the past, the building on the east side of the building, they had a sign attached to the east side of the building. Because it's just like an empty,
Yeah.
canvas of siding. So I'll just make that note too. And then, did any of you have any thoughts about the proposed design for this? What they want to do? I think the Erosion Commission's feedback about, just saying to them, look, we're looking at doing drainage, but the drainage might not start until October, November, which gives them a good number of months to,
So
or
I
it might
think
not start until January or February, given the contracting and all that stuff, right, Stephen?
and I think there's a step in between where they want to look at the material, right, and evaluate the actual drainage difference, doing that versus what's under, because there will be a period of time where it's just dirt, right, or whatever's under the
The hard truth?
The tennis court.
Exactly. But I like it, but if, I think it contributes to open green space, which is super important.
Yeah.
And I think will also help overall
Yeah.
with the bluff. But then my question, when I was looking at the design was, how does that relate to where tennis courts, pickleball is going to go further west or, and
doesn't yet.
I'm excited to hear what your walkthrough
Mhm.
will
For the master
provide,
plan,
because I think we need a master plan. It's a big piece of property. There are many things that will ultimately need to happen there between the building and the tennis courts and pickleball and maybe other resident amenities. I would love to see more reason for non-golfers to come up there.
Mhm.
But I like the design for the green spaces.
Sorry. I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly, because these will be walking paths in the aerial?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay. That would be cool. And probably great for photos, wedding photos especially.
Yeah.
I know there will be folks that will encourage us to do as much native plants as possible, which, aside from the environment, aside from the good for the environment, like all the animals and the bugs, but native plants just need to be watered less, which I'm imagining we would not want to be running a sprinkler right there every day. So it would really probably behoove us to get the right plants in there, so we're not just adding water to our problems.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that feedback. And again, take a minute to go down to look at the bluff and see what you think about the how it looks right now. I have to get a close-up too. I mean, I just looked at it from afar. So I think that is all I have today. So, anybody else? Anything else? David?
you heard from me already.
Okay, so do we have a motion to close the meeting of the Board of Trustees for June 11th?
At 8:01 p.m.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.